7 o'clock, we'll call the City of Brainerd Personnel and Finance Committee meeting to order, and we will start with introductions.
Tiffany Stingland, Ward 3.
Jennifer Bergman, City Administrator.
Connie Hillman, City Finance Director.
Chris Schubert, HR Director.
Tim Holmes with the Fire Department. Matt Holmstrom, Fire Department.
Eric Flowers, Fire Department.
Joe Ingy, Fire Department.
And Gabe Johnson, Chair of the Committee. We have 7 items on our agenda, and a half hour, but this should take about 10 minutes. We'll start with 1, Fire Department Relief Association Annual Report Update. Joe?
All right, well, towards the end of the year, we were notified by the State Auditor's Office that they had made a change in their Form SC-21, which we had submitted last year in August, okay? They changed the actuarial part about how they calculate the surplus, deficit, and it ended up affecting 3 departments in the state of Minnesota. 13 departments in the state of Minnesota, 3 of them in a negative way, Brainerd being one of them. What it did was it changed the amount of the required contribution that would be needed on the schedules to maintain our benefit level. It actually went from a surplus of 240 some that we reported in the SC-21 to a surplus of 489,000 on the revised schedule, which kind of throws me for a loop, but in much discussion with Rose Hennessy down at the State Auditor's Office, is just how they changed that actuarial. But what it ended up resulting in is a required contribution on our schedules, which we typically always report in a $0 amount. They did allow me to make some changes to our actual appreciation of interest and dividends for SC-21, being we have had the whole year is done, right? We know approximately where we came in, we're pretty close. So we made those changes to it. It reduced it from the 88 down to the 30,000, and it maintained our benefit level where we calculated it at back in August of 2021. It would result in nothing from the city outside of what the city already provides. And really last year, with the number of hours that we had, man hours, and our $3 redirect that we put back in from our paychecks, it pretty much covers the entire amount of that $30,252.
It does cover the entire amount. Because the 2021 contribution to the Relief Association was $67,000. We know that for 2021. And usually it's right around the 50,000, 50 to 60,000, it keeps going up, but yeah, so I mean, I really don't see an issue with what the city already contributes, the $3 redirection, that the city will have a hard time covering the $30,000 that we're required to.
Excellent. So, as we budgeted, we're not expecting any levy dollars to be used. It's just.
It's already part of
It's already
the
been funded the way, well, it's part of the levy, it's part of the redirect, how we fund it in the past. And essentially, you guys saved us
$58,000.
$58,000.
Correct.
So thank you for doing that. But otherwise, it's just the same old filed report, everything's in order, everything looks good, and
Correct.
not,
Nothing changes on anyone's behalf outside of numbers on paper.
yeah, well, Connie explained it to me, and I tried to understand what was going on, and saving $50,000 is good, and I like that, so thank you, Joe.
The form itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you've ever had to calculate it or put it together. It
Yeah.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You can use some numbers of actual, some are projected, some are not, and it's a very confusing form.
Well, how they tried to explain it to me when I was talking to Rose was that the actuarial is taken from all of the relief associations in the state, and some do a vesting at 10 years, some do a vesting at 5 years, and they kind of have this blanket formula that they use. Because to me, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense how you go from a $240,000 surplus to a $489,000 surplus. I mean, that just, and then they require a dollar amount, like that doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Makes sense.
make sense. Doesn't, but I mean, they have a $9 billion surplus, so I mean, really don't see like.
You're not that good at math in the first place.
Maybe that's not real either.
But no, I really, because from my understanding, you didn't have to do a darn thing. The
That-
city would have just been on the hook for the $88,000.
That is the first thing that they told me. They said that, Joe, you don't really have to worry about this. The city signed off on your schedules last year. This isn't in your hands. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work for us, because like, we have a working relationship with the city. I understand that you made a mistake.
Yep.
We benefit from it, and the city has to pay for it?
Yep.
Like that?
That state auditor
That,
paid for it.
that doesn't make sense to me at all. We have to figure something out. So we went back and forth for a couple weeks, and they finally said that we could adjust some actual numbers on our returns of interest and dividends, and we had a really good year last year. I mean, we returned nearly 15%, so we were pretty excited about that. I mean, we projected like 7 or 8.
Good, thanks for putting in the additional work.
Yeah, you bet.
I move that we authorize staff to sign the revised annual report that shows a required municipal contribution for 2022 of $30,252.
And I second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Can you move this?
That motion carries.
Through the screen? Oh, you put the agenda. Okay.
Next up is consider approval of an agreement to provide HR services to the HRA. And you know, you guys don't have to go upstairs.
We're both. We're gonna go back to training, but. Put in some hours.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thanks.
So for many years, the Brainerd HRA employees have been under our health insurance and ancillary policies. And this last year, they've asked us to do more HR duties for them. We have charged them a fee in the past. We have increased that fee to cover some of those expenses now. And we have drafted a formal document to outline what those HR duties are and how the funding will be. So at this point, we are asking the council to approve the attached joint powers agreement between the city and the HRA to provide human resource services.
I so move.
And I second, any discussion?
This kind of goes back to our budget discussion too, that we changed the way it was handled through through BPU as well. They were paying for 50% of Chris's benefits, and we were offsetting against the expense. This year now it's all as revenue, and what we did to come up with the cost is we took the HR department's salaries and benefits and then prorated it based on the full-time number of employees. So I think it's very fair as well, and at least we have a basis for what we are charging them as well.
Did the numbers with HRA and the PUC come in about what we'd expected in the budget time?
Usually, PUC pays around the $48,000 to $50,000.
Not in the previous
Previous years.
years. We knew going into this year, we were going to have this new contract approach. Are the numbers we're getting from HRA and the PUC about what we expected to be?
For what we budgeted, yes.
Yeah, for what
It
we
is
budgeted.
what we budgeted for.
Okay, they're
Yes.
falling right in line, good.
They're exactly what we budgeted.
It was discussed before the budget.
It was, but then things changed, right? Then all of a sudden the state says you want an additional
Yes,
$50,000.
no. That was one budget number we're good on.
We have the motion, right?
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
No.
Hearing none, vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, that motion carries. Brings us to ratify the engineering interns.
So we've begun hiring our summer employees. At this point, we've hired our 2 engineering interns. Both of them are returning employees. Isaiah, this will be his 4th year with us as an engineering intern, and Eric last year was a street department laborer. He's a 2nd-year civil engineering student, so we're having him come back in this capacity. So at this point, we're asking for ratification of the hiring of the 2022 engineering interns, as noted on the listing. One is getting paid at 16, one is getting paid at 18. The lesser amount is going to be eligible for Sourcewell funding, and that's already been approved.
Okay, and this is all in the budget.
I so move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Authorize final payment on Lum Park master plan.
You,
Go
okay.
for it.
So in 2019, the council authorized a master plan for the Children's Museum in Lum Park. The city was going to pay $20,000 and the Children's Museum was going to pay $17,000. We did enter into an agreement to do that. On November 2nd, we severed the relationship with the Children's Museum.
We dissevered nothing of the sort. The council took no action to sever any relationships,
Oh, yeah.
did we? I thought the Children's Museum just walked.
We took formal action
Huh.
to sever the relationship. So, and that was at the council meeting in November. And so the city, I did reach out to Peter Olson and asked if they would pay their portion of the, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much the reaction I got. and-
The Lakes Area Media
and it-
Collaborative is on the
We've got another agenda item too.
Yep.
Yeah.
It ended rather quickly. However, one of the things that we did ask Widseth is no matter what, we wanted to walk away with a master plan for Lum Park. And so we did. Also, the park board hired Widseth to also do design standards. And that bid, they bid for, or was $3,500, which actually was significant lower than the work that they did. And we believe a big part of that was because of the work they had already done on the Lum Park master plan. So to date, the city has paid $22,050 for the Lum Park master plan. And we're just asking for authorization for the final payment in the amount of $2,450. It does make us over budget by about $4,500 in that. Connie?
Right, because with the original plan, when we were with the Region 5 with the Children's Museum, the plan was gonna be $37,000. Once severed relationship, we talked to WSN, they reduced their fee to $24,500 as well. So we didn't spend the whole amount that we were contracted with, and we feel that this was a very useful for the Parks Board doing their design standards as well. It was an integral part of their design standards.
I move that we authorize final payment for the Lund Park Master Plan in the amount of $2,450.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Next up, consideration of Crow Wing County Historical Society donation request.
We received a letter from the Crow Wing County Historical Society requesting a donation. No amount was specified in the letter. A lot of times a city is not allowed to give donations, but to the Historical Society is one donation that is allowed in state statute, so we can give a donation to them. I gave you a history of what our donation has been in the past. So the recommended action is to authorize a $500 donation to the Historical Society to be paid out of the special projects budgeted line item.
I so move.
Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, that motion carries. Fire contract formula for 2023.
So this is just informational. This was discussed last Thursday with the Fire Advisory Board. The townships need the 2023 amount in order to set their 2023 levy, which they do in March of every year, where cities do it in December. It's the same formula, the same way that we have done it in the past. To calculate the formula, these are the costs that we allocate. We take the budget. There's a 5% increase to the capital plan. They give us some rent, known as depreciation, and then any debt that we have outstanding to pay for fire equipment. Then we allocate those costs based on 30% of the 5-year average runs, population, value of buildings, and 10% on the exempt buildings. So basically, the city's share decreased from the 2022 allocation, even though the cost increased by about $2,700. The city share decreased by $747 due to the change in the factors that we used to allocate the cost.
Why, remind me, do we just automatically do a 5% increase?
It's in the contract.
That's just in the fire service
It's
contract?
in the fire service district contracts. I think it was to keep up with inflation.
Yeah. Well, we're not even halfway there now.
Right.
Okay, update on request for funds to be returned from the Lakes Area Media Collaborative. On August 16th, 2021, the council made a motion to formally request a refund of the unspent funds contributed to the Lakes Media Collaborative to be returned to the city. The attached letter was sent to Lakes Area Media Collaborative in September. Staff has not received a response to the letter or received the unspent funds.
There's no change.
Do you want to check your email again? Just to
I
make sure?
can't, I'm pretty sure we haven't seen a penny.
Well, that's unfortunate. Took us 14 minutes, not bad. Anything else to come before the committee? Well, yeah, that will adjourn, head upstairs.